Hi everyone, I'm Catherine, and today I wanted to share with you some techniques for clearing and dealing with anxieties at their root. First, I want to talk a little bit about our primitive mind or our unconscious mind. So, this is the part of the mind that's very concerned with survival and our instinctual nature, all about food, shelter, that sort of thing. And this part of the brain is always scanning for dangers or problems that may come up. So, this is a great part of our brain. We love this part of our brain. But when we experience prolonged stress or trauma, this part of the brain can go into overdrive because it's wanting to keep you safe from that ever happening again. So it'll be sending you these signals of anxiety to the body, irregular breathing, racing heartbeat, that sort of thing, these anxious symptoms that make us feel very uncomfortable all the time when there isn't a problem. So, our goal through this work is going to be rewiring that part of the brain to not react in this way unless there is something actually wrong. So, the first thing we want to do is talk about our intention and our goal through this work. We want to create more feelings of calm, more feelings of peace, joy. You can think about what those feelings might be for you. But usually, if we're thinking about anxiety and stress, we're going to try to be moving towards calmer feelings, more peaceful feelings in our everyday life so that we can respond to actual problems from a place of centered, calm thinking. When we're thinking about these feelings, it's good if you can close your eyes, take some deep breaths, and meditate for a couple minutes on the feelings that you're wanting to feel more frequently. So, those calm, peaceful feelings. And then you're going to ask your mind to think of a symbol for these feelings. And that can be anything, just whatever comes to mind, just accept it, take it at face value, and that's going to be your symbol for this. And so as we're visualizing this symbol, already your mind is getting to work and realizing, okay, this is what we want more of. You can also use this symbol anytime you're feeling stressful thoughts. You can just bring it up to mind again once you've sort of established it and connected it with those feelings. And this can also help calm the mind. But this is just our way of setting that goal for the unconscious mind. So the unconscious mind is already getting to work on this goal for us as we're associating this symbol with those feelings. The next step is to find the root cause of the anxiety. And this is where it takes a little bit of legwork, but it's definitely worth it. I recommend journaling or prayer journaling for this. So once again, you would want to be in a pretty calm state of mind because this is what allows the subconscious to come forward more easily. So doing some deep breathing before you start, just being very relaxed, and then writing your question. So in this case, it would be, what is the root cause of my anxious feelings, of my anxiety, or whatever stressors are coming up for you? And then you'll skip a line and you'll write whatever comes to mind without judgment. And you can ask this of God. I often do that, or you can ask your subconscious mind, whichever you feel most comfortable with. But the most important part is to write what comes to mind without judgment. You may have memories come up. You may have memories of past traumas come up. If it is something that makes you uncomfortable, especially, I would just see it as an image. You don't need to relive these memories to clear them or to address them. Just have a picture of it in your mind, like a screenshot. And there may be multiple that come up, that's fine. Just see them all as memories in your mind. And that leads us to our next technique. So you're going to visualize these pictures in your mind all together. And then you're going to take some deep breaths and you're just going to blow them away. You're going to see them getting further and further away as you're taking your deep breaths. And it can take, as long as it needs to take. And just see them getting smaller and smaller and smaller in the distance as you're visualizing this. And eventually they're going to be like little dots on the horizon. And then you're just going to breathe them out until they disappear. So this is one way of making these traumas smaller for the subconscious mind. One thing you can do if a memory is triggering or feeling a little too traumatic to recall, you can sort of scramble up the memory. One way you can do that is by blinking your eyes really quickly, looking in all sorts of different directions while you're blinking, or you can change the color of that image, purple, red, green, orange, several different colors. And these are different ways of just sort of scrambling up that emotional reaction, and that can be helpful. So that's our first technique. Our next technique is addressing the inner child. So oftentimes these memories of trauma are going to be coming from childhood, and you can look at that, look back on that memory as an adult. It's helpful to see it sort of like in the third person. So for example, say a teacher called you out in class. It was really embarrassing. You felt like guilty and ashamed that you didn't meet your teacher's expectations or whatever it was. And you can see how, like, as an adult, maybe that wouldn't seem very traumatic to us, but it can be very traumatic to a child. And maybe the teacher was having a bad day and was reacting from their own place of stress and trauma. And, maybe child, you did nothing wrong. And so that's one thing we can tell our child self. We can look at yourself as a child in that memory, and you can tell yourself what you needed to hear at that time. You can tell yourself how loved you are, how much God loves you, how you were doing your absolute best with, the information you had at the time, that, you're worthy of respect and being treated kindly. So things of this nature, maybe things that you would tell your own child today if your child experienced something like that. And that can be very healing for whichever part of our consciousness is holding on to that memory. So that's the next technique I wanted to mention. And the last technique I wanted to mention is good for if you are struggling to come up with some of these root memories or causes to the anxiety. Sometimes people will try journaling and nothing comes to mind. But if that happens, one thing that could happen is that you'll remember things in the coming days after you ask. So that's something to just keep in mind, that if nothing was coming up in the moment, maybe things are going to come up in the next day or so. And so just be aware if a memory comes to mind and you're like, whoa, where'd that come from? Maybe it's in response to the question you asked. But sometimes we don't necessarily need to know. We don't need to remember. So for this visualization, we're going to ask our subconscious mind to bring up the things that are ready to go that we don't need to know about. So you're going to visualize a room. It can look like anything. And in this room are lots and lots of boxes, however many boxes are ready to go. And you're going to just start clearing out the room, taking the boxes out. Maybe just load them up with the dolly. Sometimes if it's feeling like there's a lot of boxes and it's a little overwhelming, I'll call in some angel helpers to come help me take out all the boxes. And then once all the boxes are out, we're going to clean the room. So maybe there's some cobwebs, maybe it's dirty, maybe it's dark. We're going to maybe ask our angels to help us with this as well. So we'll just be cleaning out the cobwebs, dusting off the surfaces, filling it up with light, and then seeing what that room looks like at the end. And this is one way of just clearing out stuff from the subconscious mind that's ready to go, that we don't need to know about. So that's a pretty easy one to do when you're not remembering things specifically. And as you're doing this technique, remember to make sure to ask your mind to bring up the things that are ready to go related to your anxiety. I don't think I mentioned that at the beginning. Okay, so that's what I had for you today. I know for my own anxiety, this was super helpful. I know from the first day of doing them, I noticed a big difference. And people lately have been messaging me, and I've noticed anxiety has been a common theme among several people lately. So I wanted to create this video, hopefully to help you with these problems as well. I'd love to hear about your experiences with them, so you can always reach out to me on Facebook or email me. I'll drop that in the description. So I hope these are helpful. I hope you see some big shifts in your anxiety as well. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, and have a great day. Thanks. Bye.